What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome back for some more Fire Emblem Heroes, and in this video I'm going to be taking a look at the 3 houses Summer banner, which includes Summer Duo Female Byleth with Rhea, Summer Dorothea, Summer Sylvain, Summer Ingrid, and at last Summer Lorenz as a Tempest trial reward. So I'm going to be taking a look at all of them and also going to be giving you guys some builds. So the timestamps are going to be in the description right below that like button, as well as on your screen in your seek bar. I also want to thank ShailorMercury as always for the layout, and with that said, let us begin. Summer Byleth is a flying red mage, and we don't really have too many units in that category, and Summer Byleth is just the best one because she just crushes her competition with her preferred weapon and just the overall stat spread that she has got. It's insane how fast she is at base 42, along with having a speed super boon and also having respectable 36 attack. Her bulk is really low, but it doesn't really matter because she's mainly an offensive unit. Her exclusive weapon is a 14 might weapon, which gives her -1 special cooldown, so Ruptured Sky becomes a 1-turn special, and at start of combat, if she's got more speed than the foe, or if the foe is at full HP, then she gets +5 attack and +5 speed during the combat, and she also gets the null follow-up effect, which is absolutely amazing because flying units cannot have access to null follow-up naturally. So this weapon is really strong because meeting its condition is quite easy with how fast she is. You're not really going to be having much trouble activating it, and it also has a secondary condition where if the foe is at full HP, you still trigger it. So this kind of weapon makes her a very powerful offensive unit, and this will combo up really nicely with Wind Sweep and Water Sweep, as you will see later on in the builds. Null follow-up is a really great effect on a weapon because it lets you bypass stuff like Weary Fighter or the weapons which units might have which stop the follow-up attacks, so that can just be really nice, and you can also bypass stuff like Vengeful Fighter and Quick Riposte, so that is really great. She's a duo unit, so she does have a duo skill, and this duo skill grants Desperation to unit and the allies within 2 spaces. Now keep in mind, this Desperation doesn't have any threshold whatsoever, as it says. So even if the unit who gets this effect is at full HP, they're still going to be able to enjoy Desperation effect. And this is probably not as broken as some of the other duo effects that we have got, because it's not really as universal. Because Desperation can only be fully utilized by allies who are fast and can naturally double attack the enemy. So this is really great for the units who have something like Vantage or something occupying their slot B skill. So this just gives them a pretty nice player phase right off the bat. And this duo skill at start of every 3rd turn, if it has been used before, you can just use it again. So this is a pretty nice effect to be run with some really offensive and fast allies who are similarly offensive to Summer Byleth. This duo skill also has a dual effect built into it, which makes her score better in Arena, so expect to see her quite a bit in Arena, and she can be a really annoying enemy to face if she has got the proper build. Overall, she's just a very solid unit. Attack speed push 4 and her weapon just give her a lot of attack and speed, and that's her main role, and she really excels at that. As for the builds, all you need to do is run some kind of assist skill and give her a Sacred Seal, and she should be good to go because she already has a pretty decent base kit. And if you want to invest more, then I would definitely suggest Wind Sweep or Water Sweep. Wind Sweep and Water Sweep combo up really well with null follow-up, as we have seen with male and female Byleth, with Spring Fear, with young Merrick. So Wind Sweep just allows you to double while also having the Fire Sweep effect, so it basically becomes like a Fire Sweep weapon in a sense. So it's a very strong effect, and this is not really all that expensive to do, and this should definitely be done if you want to use her a lot. Now you can also use her with Vantage because she can use Desperation from her duo skill. So Vantage allows you to also have a bit of enemy phase, and attack speed push 4 is going to be active in the enemy phase as well. And also her weapon actually does give the extra attack and speed in both phases. So that's why Vantage is not really all that bad of an option, and you could just run a Brazen skill with that. And because of the merits that she comes with, she can also be run in Aether Raid's defense as a rally trap unit. She already has ground orders, which is a fantastic skill in Aether Raid's defense for making the movement of your team complex to predict for the opponent. And with Wind Sweep, you can basically have a pseudo Vantage check in a way against like dagger units and stuff like that. Like Summer Byleth is ridiculously fast. It's really hard to outspeed her. And she can just be a check to those kinds of units, and just the Fire Sweep effect is just so annoying. Imagine a tank who has parked Summer Byleth just comes in, goes for the attack. She is not really phased by any kind of counter attack because of wind sweep. She gets dance and probably gets the kill. So she can be a really good unit to be used in Aether Raid's defense. Summer Dorothea is an infantry dagger dancer, and even though she's a dancer, my god, does she hit hard. She has got 37 base attack and also has an attack super boon, so she is one of the highest attack dagger units in the entire game. And she also has pretty respectable speed at base 36. So Dorothea can definitely support by dancing, but she can also hit hard when you require her to. So she has got Hidden Thorns Plus as her weapon. It's a 12 might inheritable dagger. And during her first combat in the player phase or enemy phase, she gets +5 attack and +5 resistance, and also restores 7 HP after the combat. So this kind of weapon isn't really the greatest because it is not very consistent, but still it is really not all that bad. It's quite decent, especially for a dancer. I mean, it's not really all that bad to have. It does give you the healing and it does give you the extra attack and resistance, so pretty decent weapon, but she definitely has much better options. She also has attack cantrip as a new line of skill that we have got. So if Single or Dance is used, it inflicts -7 to nearest foes within 4 spaces of unit through their next actions. And we have seen this kind of effect on Mirabilis's Whimsical Dream, so it's pretty similar to that. However, it's always going to be competing with something like Wings of Mercy, where it's just so nice on a dancer to just teleport to a nuke and then just give them another action. So it's always going to be having that kind of competition, but this is definitely a pretty decent skill to be used if you use her in something like Aether Raid's defense, or if you're using her with some kind of tanky unit. Overall, Summer Dorothea is a very powerful offensive dancer who can actually pull her own weight because of having such good offenses. There's also a bit of downside of this. By having this much attack, if you do put her in your Aether Raid's defense, then it's quite easy to bait her out, because the dancers, if they do more than 5 damage, they will go for the combat instead of dancing. So usually it is recommended to have low attack dancers in Aether Raid's defense. So there, Dorothea could struggle, but if you use her effectively, then that attack stat can actually be a big boon, as you will see. As for her builds, this is the budget build. You could just run Fury on her, which goes really well, and you do recover a bit of HP because of the condition of the weapon that she has got. She can run Gale Dance or any kind of support Sacred Seal. You can also use her with Wings of Mercy, of course, and Barb Shuriken. Barb Shuriken is a bit more consistent option that gives her Iceberg as a 2-turn special. She does have usable resistance for that, so you could definitely make use of that and just run any kind of support Sacred Seal again. And right now in the limited ephemera pool, we do have Summer Lind, so you could actually give her Starfish Plus, which has got Desperation in the weapon. So this frees up her slot B skill, so she can run Desperation with her weapon and also have Wings of Mercy. So she can fulfill both roles pretty well with this weapon, and it's definitely something you can consider if you'd really like Dorothea. Summer Dorothea has got 4 less resistance than Tethys, who's a really popular dancer for her support capabilities. But if you really like Dorothea, then you could also use her similarly to how Tethys is run with Temari Plus. So this allows you to provide support to your teammates with the debuffs, and this can also make use of her resistance. Unfortunately, her attack gets quite a bit weakened, but this is definitely an option if you like Dorothea a lot and you want to use her as a support dancer. Now, as I said before, her high attack can definitely be used as a big advantage in Aether Raid's defense if you use her properly, and with this kind of build, she can actually be pretty scary. So this is to be used in a Dark Mythic team. So in the Light and Dark season, Milla is going to be a mythic unit which a lot of people use to shut down dancers. And even though Dorothea might get shut down as a dancer, she can still function as a nuke, and that just gives her multiple roles to fulfill, and I can definitely see it being useful in Dark Defense. Summer Micaiah is used similarly for her offensive capabilities as a dancer, so no reason why Dorothea cannot also function the same way. You want to run Sturdy Impact so that she can actually have some survivability and it can be annoying for your opponent, and you just want to have her on an Infantry Pulse team. She can definitely get pulsed down by 3 units and just have Dragonfang pre-charged with Cook and Pulse, and she can also Infantry Pulse a mythic unit like Bramimond or any kind of low HP nuke maybe. Cloud Mayogi does have Hardy Bearing built into it, so it allows you to check Vantage units and also check dragons because it's a dragon effective dagger. And this allows her to hit really hard, so with a plus attack IV, with the super boon and with Bramimond's buff, you're looking at a devastating Dragon Fang, so this Rose definitely has some very spiky thorns. And the final build is just utilizing all of her offensive stat spread. Even though she's a dancer, you could remove Dance and run Reposition on her and just use her as a good old offensive dagger unit because she is very powerful with that attack stat. So Broadleaf Fan is by far the best offensive dagger out there because it gives you more attack depending on the penalties you've got, and it already has the innate debuff, so this is a very powerful option to be used in Aether Raid's offense, like in Astra Season. So you could just run the Close Counter Vantage build and have Heavy Blade and Miracle because the damage output from Broadleaf Fan along with her high attack is already quite a lot, so you don't really need like an offensive special, and Miracle could definitely save you a lot of times. Summer Sylvain is a green cavalry mage, and he's a 4-star focus unit on this banner, so it's easy to plus and merge him. Because he's a 4-star demote, unfortunately he doesn't really get any kind of love in the IV department, so he doesn't really have any kind of super boons. He does have 2 super banes, but they are pretty easy to get rid of because it's easy to plus 1 merge him and just get rid of it. He has got the same weapon as Summer Dorothea, where it gives him plus 5 attack and resistance, and heals up 7 HP at the first combat in player phase or enemy phase. So again, this is a decent weapon, but he definitely has much better options, and the obvious option is the Blade Tome, of course, which is a really good thing on him. At 4-star, he does have Chill Resistance and Drawback as the inheritable skills. Chill Resistance is already present on Summer Lagarn, who's in the Grail pool, and it's also a Sacred Seal, but I wish like he had Rouse Attack Defense as a 4-star inheritable skill, but nonetheless he at least brings something for inheritance. His main competition, like all of the other Green Mage Cavaliers, is gonna be Thunderhead Olwen, who's present in the normal summoning pool and who can also appear in the other revival banners. So you could actually plus and merge her, but Sylvain is actually easier to plus and merge because he's a 4-star focus unit. But when you just compare their performance, they have pretty similar offenses and their defense and resistance are just switched up. Sylvain does have better HP, so that could work as a mixed phase Cavalier or just in the enemy phase. But even though both of them have got a Blade Tome, Thunderhead is a 14-might Blade Tome that also has the Weapon Refinery, which can just lower the resistance and speed of the foe within 2 spaces in the player phase of her, and that is quite significant for doubling and also doing more damage. It also has no special penalty like the normal Blade Tome, so yeah, Green Mage Olwen is always going to be coming out on the top. He can also be compared to another easily available Green Cavalry unit in Picnic Leo. Picnic Leo is just a defensive Green Mage Cavalier, but Sylvain can be a much better physical fast tank because of having better HP than him and also having better speed, which can definitely make some matchups much better because he will not get doubled. And he doesn't have as much resistance as Picnic Leo, but that speed is super valuable and can definitely make him quite versatile. So at the end of the day, he's going to be facing the competition from Thunderhead Olwen. And when it comes to seasonal, of course, Summer Selena is also present, who has got incredible offenses. But still, he's an easily mergeable Green Cavalier, and if you do like him a lot, then this is the best chance to plus and merge him. As for his builds, you could just run Fury and have Sparrow to give him a lot of offenses, and you could also run Desperation with a Blade Tome that's easily better than having Melon Float Plus, because Ground Blade just provides you much better damage output. You could also use him in Arena Assault as a budget archer check. Having a Green Raven Tome unit is going to be a really nice thing in the water season because you're going to be facing Legendary Leaf, you're going to be facing Legendary Chrom. So he is fast enough to double both of them naturally. And if he's put up against Legendary Alm, then he will definitely need some help to survive the hit. But Guard Slot B skill is definitely pretty nice for making sure that Alm doesn't trigger his special and just nuke Sylvain. So this is definitely something you could do if you are going to be using him at low merges. Now before I go over the plus 10 builds, I just want to talk about the orb cost for plus 10 merging Summer Sylvain. He's a 4-star focus unit, so it's quite easy to plus and merge him, and on average you're going to be requiring around like 400 orbs, and even if you're in the 99th percentile, it's still going to be taking less than 700 orbs. So if you like him a lot as a character and if you have some stash of orbs left, then you could definitely go for this. This banner is also going to be lasting for a month, so you do have time to collect the orbs if you're interested in plus and merging him. So at plus and merge, he becomes a very nice offensive unit with a Blade Tome. You obviously want to go for the plus speed IV so that he can double more, have attack speed push for, and have a standard Desperation build. We don't really have the most options when it comes to an offensive Mage Cavalier, but this is definitely a very strong one. You could also use him in Aether Raid's offense in the Light Season as a Vantage Sweeper. So you could use him in the Light Season with 1 Peony and 1 Air. and basically just use him as a Vantage Sweeper. Keep in mind, lull skills are semi-common, and Bramimon does have lull attack resistance, so he's always going to be annoying to face for a Blade Tome mage like him. But having a 3 movement Vantage Sweeper does give you a lot of mobility and a lot of chances to snipe buildings, snipe units, and even hit and run actually. And because he does have usable defense, you could just use him as a ranged tank, I guess, by increasing his resistance and by giving him the Serpent Tome. It is definitely going to be expensive because it's present on 5-star logged Lu, but this is definitely an option you could go for with a tier 4 stance skill. You could also use him, again, more defensively with Close Foil to make use of his defense so that he can retaliate back to the melee foes. And you can actually seal up Sandwiches Plus from Picnic Leo because it does give him resistance and also attack, which is just perfect. So you can have a lot of attack with Close Foil, Sandwiches, and Mirror Stance. And of course, lull attack resistance is going to be a great option. Finally, if you want to use him in Aether 8's defense, you could definitely run a build like this. Melon Float is definitely pretty nice in Aether 8's defense because you're going to be having that on your first combat basically, and if you take out one of the units on the enemy team, that's definitely much preferred. And you don't really want to run Ground Blade on Aether 8's defense because you shouldn't be relying on a lot of buffs because you could just get panicked by Panic Matter or a Versa that people can bring. So Melon Float is actually pretty good in Aether 8's defense, and lull speed resistance is of course going to be fantastic and very scary to face on a +10 Sylvain. Summer Ingrid is a Lance Flyer, and we have a lot of those in the game, but she is insanely fast with 42 base speed with a speed super boon, and her weapon gives her +3 speed as well. So she's one of the fastest units in the entire game, and she also has a pretty decent attack stat at 34 and just average bulk. So Starpoint Lance follows the same theme as the other weapons on the units on this banner, but it does give you more reward because it's an exclusive weapon. So it gives you +5 to all of your stats and also restores 10 HP over 7 HP like the other units on the first combat of her in the player phase or enemy phase. So again, this weapon is decent. It's not the most consistent weapon out there. The reward is pretty nice on your first combat, I'm not gonna lie, but once again, the consistency is gonna be mattering if you're gonna be facing a lot of foes or if you're just gonna be dancing her to attack multiple enemies. So there, it could face the consistency issues, and she definitely has some alternate options actually, as you will see. She also comes with Guard Bearing as a new line of skill in the slot B, and this skill is pretty restrictive because it can only be inherited to Sword Flyers, Lance Flyers, and Axe Flyers. That is it. You don't really have too many options with that. So this skill, during unit's first combat in the enemy phase, reduces the damage by 50%. So it's a damage reduction skill, but it only works on the first combat, and it only works in the enemy phase. And on top of that, it only reduces the damage from foe's first hit. So if the enemy has got a brave weapon, you're still gonna eat like full damage on their second hit. And the same thing is gonna happen if the opponent is in the desperation range or something like that. So ideally you wanna run this skill on flyers who are fast enough, who are not really gonna get doubled, so they can reduce the damage from the first attack and not really get doubled after that. So that could be pretty nice for their bulk. And this is a fantastic option on someone like Mini Nerva, who's a really popular Grail option to merge up. So Mini Nerva already has a lot of speed, and she has the slot B open. She doesn't really have too many good skills that she could run on that. So she's a great option, and Ashnard can also be another user of this, but you'd have to run Quicker Post Sacred Seal, and he's almost always gonna get doubled. So he's gonna be eating like full damage, but still this is good for his bulk. Now, flyers don't really have the best slot B skills available. Pegasus Flight is one of them, but it's really hard to use on a lot of units. So they don't really have the best options. So Guard Bearing is another niche option that they can run. So from a cynical viewpoint, I feel like Guard Bearing is just put in the game to annoy us on Abyssal battles. And it is going to be put on some ridiculously bulky flyers who have got IO Shield, Sacred Seal, and stuff like that. So it could be quite annoying. But at the end of the day, when you're going to be facing a lot of units in the enemy phase, it is only going to be helping you on your first combat. So quite a niche skill, but definitely pretty nice when used. Overall, Summer Ingrid is definitely going to be facing competition from the million Lance Flyers we have in the game, but because she's a new Lance Flyer, she can definitely outperform them even when she's unmerged and even when they are plus unmerged, because they are Gen 1 Lance Flyers many of the times. And when it comes to premium Lance Flyers, Tsubasa is always going to be giving her the competition. Her weapon is also really good, and frees up the slot B skill. So again, she's going to be facing that kind of competition. But she is definitely one of the better lance flyers because of her insane speed. For her budget build, you could just slap reposition and Sparrow. The thing is that Sturdy Impact is a player phase only skill and Guard Bearing is enemy phase only skill. So it's definitely a bit conflicting. I mean, I do get the point. It is to be used with her weapon, which is also mixed phase. But still, there are more options. You could definitely run Fire Sweep Lance on her because of her blazing high speed. She can definitely be a pretty fantastic hit and run poking unit with this. And she doesn't really care about any kind of retaliation unless you're facing a null counter disrupt unit. So you could run hit and run, and she can function pretty nice offensively. You could also run Slaying Lance, which is going to be much more consistent, going to be giving you the -1 special cooldown, and you can just speed refine it to get the same speed stat basically, and also have some extra HP. And Luna is going to become a 2-turn cooldown special, and Sturdy Impact could be used to get into the Desperation range a bit easily. You could also use her with Harmonic Lance because of her high speed again. She could use Iceberg or Moonbow or Glimmer, it's up to you. I personally like Iceberg because you could combo it up with Brazen Attack Resistance. You could definitely use her with Brave Lance because she's an insanely fast unit and she pretty much reaches 50 speed with attack speed push 4 and Sparrow. So she is going to be a pretty nice quad attacking unit, but keep in mind attack IV is definitely going to be a bit better so that you can get more damage output. She is quite fast already and you could definitely buff her up. And you could also use her with Gale Force. Once again, you're going to be requiring the plus attack IV so that you can meet the heavy blade checks. She's definitely going to be requiring some attack support to meet that check because she doesn't have the highest attack stat. In my opinion, Sturdy Impact is much better in the hands of AI than in the hands of player because AI just likes to go into any kind of enemy unit. So Sturdy Impact kinda protects you from the stupidity, if you get what I mean. So you could definitely use her in Aether Raid's defense in the Anima season with Mirabilis and Thrucia who can buff her up in the bulk department. And you could just use her with the default skills that she comes with Guard Bearing and Sturdy Impact. Guard Bearing makes it hard for you to snipe her, and Sturdy Impact just gives you a soft check to any kind of tank or any kind of vantage unit because she can get like a lot of defense from her weapon from Sturdy Impact and just from Mirabilis' buff. So she can definitely survive against some vantage dagger units with that kind of defense. And this kind of weapon that she has becomes much better in the hands of AI because you don't really need to engage in that many combats, and when you engage into a combat, its value is going to be pretty nice. So you could always use her as a rally trap unit with aerobatics. You could definitely use Guild Fork to feast because Guild Fork does give you extra attack and defense, and that can be pretty nice with Sturdy Impact and Bonfire because she can reach pretty decent amount of defense, so this could always work out. And she's going to be immune to debuffs on her attack and defense. Not like it's easy to hit her with chill attack or chill defense, but still, this weapon does give her extra attack and bulk. And finally, if you do decide to plus and merger, if you're a big Ingrid fan, then you could run something like this. Have Mystic Boost, which can pair up with the healing of her weapon to just heal up 16 HP, which is a lot. And you could just run Heavy Blade, have plus attack IV because she already has quite a lot of speed and there's not really a lot of good ways of using her speed productively. Her weapon does make it a bit wonky with the synergy with Desperation, so you could just run Mystic Boost and double down on the healing and heal a lot of HP. Look how they massacred my Speedo boy. He is unfortunately quite underwhelming as a unit. He's a Tempest trial unit, so Summer Lorenz is an infantry red mage. We have so many of them, and even though we have so many of them, he doesn't really come with a preferred weapon. His stat spread is just jack of all trades and master of none. I know many people are going to be saying that that's how he is in 3 houses, but the thing is, this is the same game that makes Titania, Seth, Har underwhelming, and this is the same game that makes Carla good and Layla better than Jafar. So I don't think that this game really works on any kind of logic. But at the end of the day, this is really unfortunate and disappointing for a lot of the Golden Deer and Lorenz fans. So he has got the same weapon as all of the other units in the game. This weapon is quite decent, but unfortunately if you want to replace this, there are not really too many really good options which are easily available when it comes to red tomes. So that's another thing which is really unfortunate. With this kind of stat spread, a unit wants to be merged so that they can make full use of all of their stats. But he's a Tempest trial unit, so he's not easy to merge. It's going to be requiring you 2,700 grails to plus and merge him. And it's simply not worth it when there are so many like really good infantry red mages who are just much better. I'm gonna be showing you an example of how massacred he is. Here's Tharja, a Gen 1 unit, and here is Lorenz, our boy, a Gen 4 unit. They have pretty similar stat spread. Both of them have highish HP, like same attack. She has got more speed and pretty much the same defense. But Tharja can have IVs, and she also has a preferred weapon. So with Tharja 6 at +10 merge, both of them look like this. Tharja can also have more dragon flowers. So Tharja is just a much better offensive unit. I mean, it's no brainer with that kind of weapon. And even defensively, Tharja is not really all that behind. She has got pretty much the same defense. Even more defense actually than him, because Tharja 6 does have the -4 attack effect, which is always going to be active for her. And she pretty much has the same-ish resistance always because of her weapon. While Lorenz's weapon is not really all that consistent. And the only thing that Lorenz really beats Tharja in is HP. 8 HP, that's it. So Tharja is a 3-star 4-star unit who's been in the game since launch. And she doesn't take any grails to +10 merge and is always going to be giving you much better value than Lorenz. So he's basically second coming of Kanash with this kind of stat spread, which is really unfortunate. But if you're a dedicated Lorenz fan, then there are definitely some expensive builds that might interest you, even though the cost of +10 merging him is going to be pretty high. So let's begin with some of the budget builds. Everyone is going to be getting him as a 5-star unit, so you could definitely build him up, have him in your barracks. This budget Lorenz build just uses Mirror Stance, Quick Riposte, and just makes him into a budget made check because he does have pretty decent resistance, and he can get even more resistance with his weapon. Because everyone is going to be having him, you could just build him up as a budget Arena Assault check. You could run him with Triangle Adept and Axe Breaker, just make him into an Axe check, you know, double slow Axe Armor units and just take them out. Or you could just slap a Blade Tome on him, have double Death Blow and have a pretty good damage output. So both of these things could be done to salvage him in Arena Assault. Now if you want to build him up to +10, then here are some of the builds for that. Now, the Fox Tome that Hubert has is pretty amazing for Lorenz because it gives -4 debuffs to all stats of the foe in the player phase. So this is just a player phase build. Just double down on all of these stats by having Fury 4, just increasing all of them, and have Swiss Sparrow, so he's able to get quite fast with this build. Now, of course, it is not something extraordinary because many of the red mages can actually reach this kind of speed at low merges or even unmerged. So that's definitely something to consider, but if you're a big Lorenz fan, then this Fox Tome is actually pretty good for you. You could also build him defensively. The Serpent Tome is locked to a 5-star unit, but if you do get hold of it, then Lorenz can definitely be built up as a tank for something like Astra Season. Now this could even be used outside of Ether Raids, but in Ether Raids this could also be used with Distant Defense 4, having Special Spiral, and also having Speed Dress Solo. So he does have 47 speed and he can have over 50 resistance and also having 49 defense, which is not bad against range units. So he can just always retaliate back with Iceberg, which is going to be doing quite a lot of damage once the Special Spiral is set up. Again, Ether Raids is the type of game mode where all of these stats could be utilized, and his high HP actually does do him favors because he can avoid 65 HP Panic Manners and Tactics Room. So that is pretty good. And he could again be run as a boot like Byleth basically. Byleth is usually seen running a build like this in Astra Season. She's also a Tempest Trial unit. But for Lorenz, he doesn't have Fimble Vetter. And Fimble Vetter is what makes Byleth so good. And Fimble Vetter is what makes Byleth really good because she doesn't care about any kind of debuffs on her. And she gets free stats whenever she's hit with any kind of debuff or if she's not at full HP. But nonetheless, this is still an option for Lorenz. He can get really fast with this build and also have decent bulk. Blade Tome could be used for damage output, or you could just run the Serpent Tome actually. Either or works here. And Pulse Smoke always is going to be helpful against infantry pulse teams. And Soul is definitely pretty nice for the self-sufficiency. So that is going to be it for the banner review. Just like all of these other summer banners, I don't think the summer banner is a must pull. Even though Summer Byleth is pretty strong, there are also other red mages who are really strong as well. Of course, +10 merging these units is going to be pretty hard because they are seasonal units, except for Sylvain, who's a 4-star focus. Summer Dorothea is also pretty nice with that high attack stat, and Ingrid is also pretty decent, but again, like, these are not a must pull units, and you should pull for them if you really like them as characters and if you really enjoyed the masterpiece known as 3 Houses. That's basically how usually the summer banners are in this game. You just pull for the characters, you pull for the art. The art of this banner is just top tier for every single unit, which is insane. So that is going to be it for this banner review. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please be sure to share this video with your friends who are thinking of pulling on this banner and want to build up one of these units. And I want to thank all of my YouTube members for their constant support. And if you enjoyed, then please be sure to leave a like and a comment. Helps me tremendously. And also be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as giving us fire boost on Summer Lorenz in 2020. So with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.